This is a round of 16 match. Another ZVZ, sort of the Swedish Zerg, spawning in the top right-hand corner of Daybreak. And DSL Symbol, the Korean, in the bottom left.
Symbol, of course, sponsored by Monster, apparently. You use that little logo. Right?
No.
It's kind of like the Monster thing.
No.
They're sponsored by a handsome nerd, but...
Yeah.
Isn't that, it really doesn't look like the Monster logo, Ben?
No.
Really?
No.
I'm looking for a Monster can right now, but it's not there. In fact, both of them kind of using that symbol. Then what is it? What does it look like to you, Ben? Just like the 3? Like Saw 3, and they have like the little...
I mean, it's like it's the symbol for one of the sects of the swarm.
How is that? Is that really not, Ben? Are you... I'm...
That's an M.
I know. This is like almost an M.
No.
It's like the same. It's everything looks right, man. I wish you guys could see it on camera for it. So Ben, it's Daybreak.
Yep, it is Daybreak, and as we kind of talked about with our last series, ZVZ on Daybreak is pretty figured out in general. Like the metagame's pretty set. You usually see defensive banelings into roaches, into infestors, into hydras, and it usually culminates in a big fight somewhere with somebody coming out far enough ahead to wrap up a game. The variance is not super common, but we do occasionally see Muta on Daybreak, and once in a blue moon we'll even see somebody play Zergling styles. My favorite ZVZ of all time actually happened on this map, Dan. It was Lenok versus Violet from MLG Summer Championship, I think, where both players played Infesterling into Ultras, and there was a huge fight at the 6 o'clock base between like 30 Ultras. Both players had like 15 Ultras.
I remember watching parts of that game.
It was awesome.
I think my favorite ZVZ was Zenio versus Galaxy earlier this season on Cloud Kingdom. That map was actually quite insane. In fact, it was so crazy that we were debating and putting into the NASL Classic almost instantly because like Zenio really shouldn't have been able to win that game.
Galaxy plays exciting games.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, he does,
and we've confirmed that he'll be back in Season 5, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, based off of his
so
stand,
we
he's
get
3
to
and
see
5.
Galaxy basically showing us his new builds in Heart of the Swarm.
I can't imagine what he's going to be able to do with
HOTS.
Infestor Viper, man. He's going to do some crazy stuff.
Viper Swarm host.
Viper Swarm. Gosh, he's probably going to like rush Hive to have some Viper like abduct a drone and then neuroparasite it and I don't know, do something weird like that.
I just want to see somebody chain abduct a unit from one side of the map to the other.
I wonder wait, if you abduct a unit but you're like flying over like a place where you can't have a ground unit,
I think it just lands.
it just lands like right in front of it?
I want to abduct a unit and then abduct the Viper and see what happens.
So it just like basically chains and then...
Yeah, so it's like unit, Viper, and so first Viper abducts the second Viper abducts the Colossus. Does the Colossus come all the way to the first Viper?
Just pull it all the way across the map.
And then you can just set up like these big
That'd be
long
really
Viper
sick.
abduct chains. Like I'm gonna actually test that today.
That'd be really cool, actually.
HOTS beta.
Man, imagine if like the replicator still stayed in and you could abduct, like you could turn it into your opponent's Viper and you abduct their Viper.
They just switch sides.
That's really funny if that actually would happen.
Heart of the Swarm is so much fun, guys. I am so excited for when we get to cast it full time. I know that a lot of people still want Heart of the Swarm beta that haven't had a chance to play yet, haven't been able to get involved. Blizzard slowed down a lot on their beta handouts in recent weeks because of BWC, the Battle.net World Champions, happened in Shanghai. But I will appeal to them while I'm there to see if we can get some more betas to give away at the NASL. I'm sure they'll say yes.
I really like the leveling system too in Heart of Swarm. The EXP thing is really cool. Just because you get to see like...
I was so confused the other day when I played HOTS for the first time since that patch, and like I hatched a drone and it said plus 50 EXP. I'm like, what?
No, man. The best feeling, Ben, is like after when I was playing PvZ and then like the guy went like 30 meters or something, and like I was really struggling, but I got one really good storm off and blinked, and it was like plus 100, plus 100, plus 100, plus 100. It was like spammed ones and zeros. It was awesome. It was like a blue cloud of EXP as well as a red cloud of red Mutablood.
It's funny how something so simple can be so exciting.
Gratifying, you know?
Yeah.
But of course, guys, Heart of Swarm, of course, should be unveiling in the early quarter of next year. That's what they were saying. Symbol running in, seeing defensive baneling. Both players being very, very, very passive, really. There hasn't been any skirmishes. In fact, if you look at the resources loss tab, it's pretty much nothing to nothing. So
that's right.
Symbol hiding is Roach attack. Very nice.
No real action anywhere yet. Both players playing pretty similar playstyles, though. Roach and Fester is what we're going to see, and it's exactly what we talked about in the beginning. So kudos to us for casting full-time StarCraft and having seen this before.
Well, his story is really interesting because people...
I think it's sort of interesting.
His story is kind of interesting. In the sense that he's kind of like the neglected Swedish player that does really well in a lot of tournaments that people never talk about. They always talk about Naniwa. They always have eyes on Thorzin because he's on EG. They always talk about maybe Sase and even some of the other players. And, you know, like Ben talks about Bishu, but people don't really talk about Sortof as one of the guys that's really risen up this year.
I talk about Bishu.
Yes.
I'm the only one.
That's what I was saying. And Moro talks about Bishu all the time. Symbol is the guy that's a favorite. Of course, everyone considers Symbol one of the strongest Zergs in terms of just raw macro. And Symbol has a lot of unique builds, and he's going for a big attack.
The queen! She died!
Did she die?
Another queen! Why queen? Oh, actually, Symbol's just going to walk right into the main base. A little bit of sloppiness by sort of allowing these roaches to get through. This could be a catastrophe! No! Infestation pit! Oh, the research finishes.
Oh. But, you know, still, you can't really make
Symbol
that many
will have one
infestors.
fungal. And actually, I think it might be the one that catches all these roaches!
No.
If only he could have hatched in the natural.
That's actually something that's really, like, subtle, too. Like, being able to make units out of the right hatchery bin. But, I think overall that was a nice attack by Symbol, but he is down in the worker count. Like, I mean, part of the reason why Sortof had trouble holding it off is because he just made so many drones.
That was a Roach timing. It was supposed to end the game. It didn't. Symbol is now going to have to transition up to a third base and continue trying to assert himself, but Sortof is still ahead, even after those losses. He lost a couple of queens, he lost some tech, but he stabilized, he held strong, he didn't lose any drones, surprisingly.
Yeah, very well done. And another big Roach attack coming into the third. Symbol wants to force to cancel.
He might, if Sortof doesn't respond to this quickly. I don't know how he does it. Oh, no, he sees it, so he's going to be there.
He does have an infestor to lock down some of those roaches.
Actually,
but just one infestor.
Really poor engagement from Sortof. Sortof, you have more supply, dude. Just, okay, all right.
Just let it happen.
Cancel it.
Just let it go.
Just let it go.
Oh, another drone! Oh.
That would have been a good fight for Sortof to take, man. He's got the upgrade advantage. He has even roaches. He had the infestor. He would have won that fight if he'd have just fought. So sort of misjudging that situation a little bit, and as a result, comes out of it with a much delayed hatch. This is going to let Symbol catch up economically. He'll be mining on 3 bases well before Symbol.
Yep, and now Symbol has the third hatchery out for extra larva. Should be able to crank out units very heavily. Sortof, of course, had that lead, but I think he's just been a little bit too easily intimidated by the fact that I mean, Symbol was being very aggressive, and he looked like he had a lot of roaches. Part of it might even come to psychology too. Some players do say that, you know, if they feel like they're playing against a big name, sometimes they just feel like they can't really attack or defend as easily. And that's why players like Naniwa says he's really starting to turn the page, because maybe it's not necessarily just Flash, it's another Terran player that he has to play against. And from that point on, you kind of start to realize your experience starts to come in, and that way you don't get nerves anymore.
That's right. Sortof hates Symbol's overlords. Invest some infestor energy into killing a couple of them. Worth it, in my opinion, always. If we look at the overarching state of the game right now, we see 150 supply against 149 supply. We see 61 drones against 56 drones. We see 112 army supply against 90 army supply. A very, very even game. The biggest discrepancy is in the infestor count. Sort of has 6, Symbol only has 3. Everything else is basically even.
Very early Hydra den, though.
Nah, it's right on time.
Oh, just kidding.
Right on time.
I didn't pay attention to the timer.
Remember, Dan, you add the Hydralisk Den when you stabilize on Roach Infestor. And that's the state of things. So Sort of is getting it at the perfect time. Symbol is going to be adding his pretty soon, I would wager.
What I meant to say, Ben, is it's much earlier than Symbol's Hydra den. So he will have the Hydras into his army. But I think you're pretty much dead on, Ben. It's to the point where it's going to be really tough to attack into each other because they stabilize so much. Daybreak is a map that you can have 2 different counterattack paths. You can pretty much just avoid opponent's army if they feel like he's too far into your base. Some Zergs we see just run roaches to the top left or to the bottom right, and just avoid the army.
Units can kind of circle around each other. The maelstrom of unit movement.
Maelstrom, like the Protoss units.
Circular.
Oh, okay. Well, we're about to see what's going to happen here.
Some nice fungals by Symbol. He's going to catch a lot of fungal. Well, both these guys landing good fungals. A lot of infested Terrans going down as well. One problem for Sortof is this Roach run by in his third base doing some big damage. Symbol's going to lose this main fight, though, so he's going to have to fall back. Sortof is going to lose his entire third base, I'm afraid. We'll see if he's able to react in time. Some transfusions could be really key.
The Queen does have energy for a transfuse,
but it does not get used, and sort of does clean up the units, but it's at the cost of an expansion, also at the cost of a couple of drones, not that many. Income-wise, sort of still with a drone lead. And the good news for Sort of is that he took this 4th base nice and fast, so he's going to have somewhere to send all those drones. I'm not sure what version of Daybreak this is. This is the one with a single gas in the middle of the map.
I believe it's the TSL4 version, so that's just going to give a nice advantage back into Sort of, because you just have to defend 1 point as opposed to bouncing back.
You're maxed out. You have to start attacking now. It's so critical that when you get into situations like this, when you have small advantages, that you exercise those advantages. Sort of is 40 supply ahead of his opponent. He needs to recycle units. He needs to go, but he's being passive. He's trying to play safe, and it's very, very seldom is it wrong to be safe. In this case, I think Sorto's making a small mistake. He needs to exercise this advantage, and he's not actually doing so. Symbol right now just going to control the Zelnaga Tower and hope like hell that he does not get attacked by a maxed out opponent.
Yep, and Sort of even has the upgrade advantage because he does have the +1 carapace, which reduces the Hydralisk damage just ever so slightly, and that will give you a little bit more durability. But Symbol, he's the one that's that time is helping him a lot. He's able to regain his infestor count. He's only on 3, and even incorporate some more units into his composition because he is down in supply. Sort of, he's playing this extremely passive, getting spine crawlers even, so it looks like he's just sitting back and turtling even more.
Yeah, Symbol is starting to use Contaminate on hatcheries around the map, which is pretty neat. Sort of doing some of the same, it looks like. Sort of is finally going to move, but Dan, look how long it took him. Now Symbol is also maxed, and even adding a Nidus network, which is really, really cool. Big attack coming from Sort of. One thing that you have to credit the guy for is this is a beautiful attack angle coming down from 3 sides and forcing Symbol to give up that central expansion. So nice moves there by Sort of. Does mean that he will be able to gather a much larger bank than his opponent as he's able to mine substantially more. The downside to this is his whole army is kind of on Symbol's side of the map, and when the Nidus starts going off, life will become much more complicated for Sort of. He's going to have to try and figure out how to allocate units to defense while still maintaining this aggressive stance.
Roach run by again at the 3rd base of Sort of. Symbol had those roaches burrowed for a while, Sort of realizing that he has to kind of salvage something, pulls his drones, but that should also kind of say, well, if those roaches aren't there, then his army maybe not be as strong, but still it's kind of difficult to attack up this ramp that Symbol has, and so as a result, focusing everything on the 3rd.
Oh, big Nidus in the main base right now. Symbol is like, what up, hater? This is what happens when your whole army's out of position. Sortof is going to take the cue to go attack and crash right into the third base. A lot of Infestors waiting at the top of the natural ramp, and look at these Hydras doing work. Infested Terrans going down in mass. Holy smokes, I don't even know.
Who's Infested Terran is whose, man? But it doesn't matter because Symbol has all the rally coming in. Sortof does kill the third base, which is really
killed
nice.
the main, and he killed certainly, well, actually no tech. That's amazing. He only killed the hatchery there. Infestor's going to be unloading all of their payload in the natural expansion of Sortof, and they're just going to peace out via that Nidus network. They're going to take out the infestation pit. So that's a nice small win for Symbol. Sortof wants to continue pushing the aggression here. I don't know if it's a good idea to attack up this ramp, though.
Yeah, but he doesn't even have Infestor energy compared to Sortof because he's spent everything on the Infested Terrans offensively. The Infested Terrans can't really push things out as fast, but Sortof still has a nice trap on all the units. Now coming from the northern flank, and Symbol doesn't really have the units to really to support these Hydras that all Roaches are getting worked on. Although, wow, Symbol's still able to utilize
supply plummeting down below 100, and Sortof is actually going to come out beautifully here. He's going to win this fight. I think he's just going to win this game straight up, Dan. There is no answer for Symbol. He's out of money. He's out of units, and he's in a really, really terrible position. There's, I don't think there's really anything Symbol can do. Sortof's got this one in the bag. He's 100 supply ahead. He's got bases. He's got mining. He's got production. Everything is going very nicely for the Swedish Zerg, who played very passively for a long time, but when the aggression started, it never stopped.
The full-on aggression from Sortof is just a little bit too much. Symbol spends so much energy, doesn't have these Infestors able to do anything. Wow, dancing his units slightly, and Sortof trying to tell Symbol to get out of the game. Let's move on to game number 2.
More Hydra's going to come crashing in. Symbol will pull everything, but it's not going to matter. This is Infinity Hydralisks. Oh. That means they deal infinity damage.
Well, he has really no answer to it. So much DPS in this army. Symbol can't even fungal the ramp. The Hydras get in. GG. Symbol drops the game. Sortof moves up 1-0.
Yeah, nice ending there to a very standard ZVZ, I guess, unfolding into a pretty unstandard or non-standard conclusion. Game was brought to you guys by Kingston HyperX, their full line of solid-state drives and RAM available to you over at kingston.com. We're going to take a short break. Lots more StarCraft still to come for the NASL. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right